Welcome back to the CSP Elite Baseball Development Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Cressey, and this is our 21st installment of Pinch Hit Friday. I've really enjoyed these shorter episodes because they're a good chance to do a brain dump on whatever's on my mind. But I'm also actually turning into a big fan of them because they're a chance to highlight some of the great staff members we have at Cressey Sports Performance Florida. A couple weeks ago, you heard from Spencer Stockton, who's one of our pitching coaches. He kind of touched on workload. And I think today is a really good follow-up from another one of our pitching coaches, Ryan Conroy. Ryan's a guy who went through Tommy John as a teenager himself, so he kind of had to learn a lot of these lessons on his own. He serves as a pitching coach at our Florida facility. He grew up in Florida and attended Elon University, where he graduated the degree in sports management. After his junior year, he was drafted by the Baltimore Orioles in the 8th round in 2018, making it as high as AAA. As a professional, he took great interest in understanding modern analytics and how to implement them for pitching success. Ryan was also a CSP athlete throughout his college and pro career, aiding his understanding of the importance of merging the analytics, delivery adjustments, and physical competencies. Today he's going to talk about how we use various velocity-based tools just to aid the throwing program, getting away from just this classic distance mindset. So we talked a lot about throwing programs with Spencer, with the follow-up with Alan Jaeger and Randy Sullivan. So I think this is a good thing to touch on as well. While I've got your ear, Pocket Radar is something that he does talk about this. It's a tool we use all the time at Cressey Sports Performance to really just conveniently evaluate throwing velocity in a casual setting. They do a great discount code for our folks. If you go to pocketradar.com, if you enter CSP15 as a coupon code at checkout, you'll get a nice discount on that as well. So again, it's pocketradar.com and CSP15 as the discount coupon. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan now, and he has got some great information. Enjoy.
Thanks for having me, Eric. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and follow up Spencer's addition to the podcast with an example of how we manage workload, in this case, specifically for rehab programs. I had Tommy John when I was 16 years old back in 2013, which feels like forever ago now. And I'll be honest, at that point in time, I was a little lost. I was lucky enough to have my surgery done by Dr. James Andrews, but I was tasked with going through my rehab and my throwing progression back home with my physical therapist. I was super young I was super young to be even having the surgery in the first place. And ever since then, I've always taken any opportunity to give any guidance I can to anybody that might be going through the same type of thing. Today, I'm going to be going through kind of a tool that we use here with our PTs and trainers when progressing someone back into throwing. While it certainly isn't the only way to measure stress and build out progressions, we find that using a radar, here we specifically use Pocket Radar, and measuring velocity is a relatively inexpensive, easy, and objective way for athletes and coaches to monitor stress and workload in or out of our facility. The way the coaches and trainers have approached this type of program has continuously evolved across the years, right? We've seen plenty of guys come in with programs that base their progression on effort level and distance, right? Here we progress everyone from big leaguers to high schoolers the same way through velocity-based progression. There are vastly different ways to throw the ball 90 feet, right? You know, you could lob it high in the air, or you could throw it as hard as you can through the guy's chest. So that's going to look different if all that is on your program is, hey man, we need to get you to 90 feet today. Also, throwing 50% is pretty arbitrary, right? What is 50%? 50% for an arm that runs his fastball up to 95, 98 is going to look a lot different than an arm that only sits 80, 85 in game. You could also encounter two arms that both throw 95, and one's a high octane quick mover and the other is a long lever smooth operator, right? 50% for each of those guys, even though their in-game velo is the same, is going to look very different. So rather than using a subjective measure like perceived exertion or feel-based in terms of effort, having a simple objective measurement has proven useful for workload management and communication throughout this entire process. By tailoring progression to velocity, we can better track stresses to the body and get a better gauge on how the athlete is feeling. Having a radar on every throw allows us as coaches to monitor stress for the session and give the athlete immediate feedback. It might be, hey man, we need you to cool it off a little bit. We're getting a little bit too hot. Or on the flip side, hey man, I need you to push intent here. We need to make sure that we hit these certain levels of stress we need for that given day. Avoiding big velocity jumps when progressing back from injury is a huge priority. I can't stress that enough. We wouldn't allow an athlete to progress back to the mound where, I don't know, let's say he'll be 82, 84, maybe 85 in his first couple sessions when he's a 90 plus mile an hour arm, and he's only been up to 75 in catch play. This applies even to progressing to the next phase of a ramp up wherever you are in the ramp up. With the tracked radar throughout every session, we'll look at the range over an entire session to see if a velocity is spiking or staying consistent throughout. We generally want athletes to strive to maintain consistent velocity throw to throw and seeing it go up and down, up and down, up and down. This is usually a solid indication that the athlete is feeling strong where they are and their mechanics are solid, meaning they're ready to move on. You'll see spikes and drops in velocity throughout a session when they're struggling to find their rhythm, which can be caused by a multitude of different things, right? It could just be simply that they're struggling to find their mechanics now that they're returning to throw and they're pushing the ball because maybe they don't have a lack of confidence in their body. Both being issues that we really want to mitigate and get rid of as soon as possible. Generally speaking, most athletes will stick to a velocity range determined by the distance we're at in their progression within that 120 feet to start. Specifically, we use velocity range recommendations put together by Texas Metropolitan Institute of Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. This program was constructed based on studies and research conducted by Dr. Meister and his team. For an athlete whose average velocity is between 90 and 95 in game, the range are as follows: 60 feet at 59 to 64 miles per hour, 75 feet at 64 to 69 miles per hour, 90 feet at 70 to 75 miles per hour, 105 feet at 75 to 80 miles per hour, and 120 feet at 81 to 86 miles per hour. When looking at the goal for a single throwing session, let's say, it's best to kind of, work your way into that target velocity range and then strive for consistency from there until the finish. If the distance prescribed for that day is, let's say, 3 sets of 20 at 75 feet, and the highest velocity achieved is 68 miles per hour, and you averaged mostly around 67. It was a successful session, and the athlete showed signs that they're going to be ready to move on when prescribed. If the peak velocity was, let's say, 69 miles per hour, but they spiked up and down from 64, 67, back down to 65, up to 69, back down to 64, it was a successful day in terms of stressing the body, but they're not showing signs that they're going to be ready to move on, even if that next following session is supposed to be a progression into the next phase. This is very important when moving forward. We'd much rather take the time to ensure that we do each phase correctly and our bodies are ready to move on to the next phase rather than trying to focus on remaining on schedule. I'd much rather take the extra time, get it done, make sure that we're healthy, then push forward to quote unquote remain on schedule, and then we may end up hitting a setback further down the road. Pocket Radar has been a phenomenal tool for us here at CSP to execute this plan. They're easy to use and they give us the confidence that we're tracking our athletes' stress levels correctly. We can put them on a tripod, set them up so only one guy has to play catch, and then the velocities are read back out to us. So all in all, the biggest takeaways from this is we need to avoid large velocity jumps session to session. I can't stress that enough. I'll say that as many times as I need to. That is one of the biggest avoidances when coming back from injury, especially. And then 2, looking for consistency in velocity output during a session. That's a very strong indicator that the athlete is ready to go and they're ready to continue along their progression. Bringing a pocket radar into an on-ramp is a tool that any athlete of all ages, all levels can utilize to make sure they're doing things correctly and making sure they can have confidence that they progressed correctly into throwing for rehab and just competition in general. Thanks, Eric, for the opportunity to come on the podcast. I can't wait to come on again.
This episode is brought to you by AG1, the most comprehensive NSF certified for sport daily nutritional supplement I've ever tried. With so many stressors in life, it can be difficult to maintain effective nutritional habits and give our bodies the nutrients they need to thrive. As a father of 3 young kids and a co-founder of multiple businesses in multiple states on top of still being an avid exerciser, I know that busy schedules can really take their toll on us. Whether it's poor sleep, exercise or life stressors, environmental factors, or simply not eating enough of the right foods, we can often wind up deficient nutritionally. This is where AG1 can really help. It's a game-changing nutritional insurance policy. They simplify the logistics of getting optimal nutrition on a daily basis by giving you just one thing with all the best things. That's why I use it daily, as do several of my family members, and we recommend it to a lot of our top athletes. One scoop of AG1 contains 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients that work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet to support energy, focus, digestion, and recovery. And this can all happen for less than $3 per day and without taking multiple products. While most nutritional supplements come to market and stay stagnant, AG1 continues to obsessively improve this one holistic formula based on the latest research, producing over 50 improvements in the last decade alone. They invest in the most absorbable and natural source of each ingredient and go above and beyond in third-party testing to ensure their customers continue to receive the highest quality and best tasting nutrition habit on the planet. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it'll work for you, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar per serving. They put 75 ingredients through the rigorous NSF certification test to come up with a safe formula that's trusted by some of the world's top athletes, including many of our own at Cressey Sports Performance. Right now, AG1 is giving our listeners a special offer of 10 free travel packets with their first purchase. Just head to drinkag1.com/Cressey and claim this special offer. These travel packets are perfect for supporting your immune system, energy, and gut health while you're traveling for games, training, or simply on the go. They can be great counterbalance to the less than ideal on-the-road food options that are out there for a lot of our traveling baseball players. So if you want to bridge the gap between deficient and optimal and give yourself the best chance of getting nutrient diversity, head to drinkag1.com/Cressey to get 10 free travel packets with your first purchase. Again, that's drinkag1.com/Cressey, Cressey. You won't regret it.